MTN. Right now, live from Manitoba's News Network, Pulse News at 6. Tonight.
Churchill's economy could be taking off soon.
And
local reaction on the good economic news from Ottawa.
Plus, the big story.
The 23rd homicide of the year comes after a tragic domestic incident. Thanks, Linda. Manitoba has moved a step closer to becoming Canada's first right-to-work province. And tonight, the Manitoba Federation of Labour says they're going to fight the move by using the airwaves. The MFL released details of their new multimedia campaign. They say they've tried to talk with the Labour Minister about what they call an attack on workers' rights, but so far have had no luck in changing his mind. The MFL says weaker labour laws in Manitoba would open the door for outside investment and in turn lower the wages of all Manitobans. Rob Hilliard says it's important that his organization take to the airwaves to get the message out that the Filmon government is moving too far to the right.
Shoulder instead of teamwork. Where's the teamwork?
The workplace is in
If they weaken unions, we're not able to negotiate wage increases properly for our memberships. That also reduces the pressure on everybody else to have their wages come up as well. So if we're weakened, everybody's wage package gets weakened.
By now you have probably noticed what looks like an election campaign going on around the province. It's a campaign by the Manitoba Teachers Society that's seen 21,000 lawn signs go up around the province. Teachers are fighting changes to their bargaining position that could have an effect on the kind of education your kids are receiving. Carolyn Curry reports.
Chances are one of 21,000 of these signs are up somewhere in your neighborhood. Kim Wild has a sign on her lawn and a son in grade 4, and she's worried about his future schooling.
He's gotten a very good quality education, but I can see that with the current government's position that is being eroded daily. And I don't have confidence that if it continues, he will get the kind of education that I want for him.
One of the reasons for the Manitoba Teachers Society sign campaign is the Filmon government's proposed Bill 72. If passed, teachers say collective bargaining for them would be neutered because their salaries would be based on the school board's ability to pay.
This is very clearly a predetermined decision about how much we want to pay, and it is determined before negotiations begin.
It shouldn't have any effect on teacher salaries.
The education minister says Bill 72 will help keep school taxes from going up and will ultimately benefit students by preventing teacher layoffs.
In the past, that was always seen as they had unlimited ability to pay. But I don't think that the ordinary teacher in the classroom will notice any difference whatsoever in terms of Bill 72's impact. The people who will notice it will be the people at the bargaining table.
Bill 72 is in second reading right now and is expected to be up for debate in the next 2 weeks through public hearings. In Winnipeg, Carolyn Curry, Pulse News.
Tonight, accusations of police brutality could lead to charges against officers involved. A 17-year-old dies following a single-car crash last weekend. And organized labor mounts a public campaign to fight changes to the Labor Relations Act.
Channel 5 News Hour.
Points. The Manitoba Federation of Labour has launched a public ad campaign against several pieces of proposed legislation. The bills cover changes to social allowance, the reorganization of MTS, and changes to the Labor Relations Act. Bill 26 calls for a government-monitored vote before a new union would be certified. And it also wants stricter controls on unions spending money during political campaigns. Joining us now live is NewsHour's Glenn Cassie with the Channel 5 News tracker at the Manitoba Legislature. Now, Glenn, why is it that the Federation of Labour is getting involved in such a public fight with the government?
Well, Janice, this has been a year of unprecedented labor unrest with literally dozens of demonstrations right here at the legislature. Now, government says what it's trying to do is really make unions more accountable to the members they serve. Now, the Manitoba Federation of Labour says what that will do is strictly create more hostility between labor and management.
Bill 26 is going to have grave effects on the labor relations in our province.
The Manitoba Federation of Labour says this has been an unprecedented year of labor unrest in Manitoba, and they couldn't sit back and watch while the provincial government attacked organized labor. So they're launching a counterattack, an ad campaign against Bill 26.
The government wants to silence unions.
And what happens then?
Bill 26 would require the union to get its members' permission to spend money for political purposes. Those who disagree could have their union dues diverted to other programs. The Federation says Premier Gary Filmon would never give the public that choice on their taxes.
If individual members had the option of withholding their dues, it would have the same impact as if citizens had the option of withholding their taxes for activities that they didn't approve of.
The MFL, really?
So how do you
I'm
feel
shocked.
about that?
Premier Filmon feigned surprise at the campaign, but denies he's trying to restrict political activity by unions.
If we wanted to keep them out of political campaigns, we'd do what the NDP government in British Columbia did, which is to severely reduce third-party advertising in and leading up to elections. We haven't done that. We believe in freedom of speech.
The MFL says Bill 26 is excessive because unions are already more accountable to their members than government is to taxpayers.
This government has an agenda that people are only now becoming aware of. Union leadership could never get away with that.
Now, the MFL won't say how much they're spending on their ad campaign, but they do admit that it is in the six figures. Now, government can essentially, with its majority, pass any bill they want. So what the MFL is hoping is that there will be enough of a public outcry over the changes that the Conservatives will water down or change on their own some of the more contentious issues in Bill 26. Janice?
Thanks very much, Glenn. Now, the radio ads are already running on radio stations across the province, while television commercials and billboards will debut sometime next week. Meanwhile, the Manitoba Teachers Society is hoping its campaign will teach politicians the value of education. The Society is opposed to Bill 72, legislation that would give more power to school boards. Teachers say the changes could compromise salaries and funding, but the Education Minister claims the legislation protects both. Channel 5 NewsHour's Gord LeClaire has more.
It began with a lawn sign campaign to quash Bill 72. The proposed legislation allows school boards to set their budgets before negotiations with teachers begin. The Manitoba Teachers Society says the bill gives boards an unfair advantage, and the change could mean a cut in salaries or programs.
I'm teaching a rural school division, and that division has just cut home economics because it cannot afford to provide it. And we're seeing a reduction in programs available to students as a direct result of the continuous decrease in funding.
The Education Minister says the new bargaining system has safeguards built in to protect teachers' salaries. Linda McIntosh says their union is fear-mongering.
The teachers are reacting to rumors that had been started many months ago that their wages will be rolled back, and that is not a part of the bill, never has been a part, in fact, of any discussions or decisions here at the legislature.
But the Society says the government isn't living up to its constitutional responsibility of funding education.
And they're reneging on that responsibility by saying, we'll cut back on funding to school boards and just simply leave them holding the bag.
The NDP says 40 years of Labour peace is about to go down the drain.
The trustees and the teachers came together to agree upon a system of negotiation and arbitration. The government unilaterally chose to drive a wedge between that and to produce a bill which doesn't have the support of teachers, and indeed some trustees are quite concerned about some aspects of it as well.
The teachers' union is considering a work-to-rule campaign to fight the changes. The Society says it will wait for a chance to speak against the bill once it's referred to committee. Gord LeClaire, Channel 5 News.
Bill 72 is expected to get a second reading in the House within the next couple of weeks. It would then be referred to committee for public hearings. Winnipeg City Councillor